A few years ago, I made one of the most important decisions of my life to leave my home country, Cameroon, and travel thousands of kilometers in China in pursuit of knowledge. At that time, my motivation was driven primarily by a deep passion for languages and intercultural communication. However, as my academic journey progressed, particularly during my doctoral studies and later in my professional career as a lecturer and researcher, I began to search for deeper understanding of China, not only as a language and culture, but as a development model and a global actor. It was in this context that I was prompted to read Xi Jinping, The Governance of China. My interest in this book did not emerge from abstract curiosity, rather it came from a very concrete need to understand the principles behind the transformations I was witnessing both in China and in Africa. As someone specializing in international Chinese education with focus on Africa, I constantly found myself at the intersection of theory and practice. I had seen Chinese companies operating in Cameroon, contributing to major infrastructure projects, and I had personally worked as a translator in some of these initiatives. I participated in the Yaoundé drinking water supply project and the construction of the Yaoundé-Simalène highway. These projects are not just technical achievements, they have a direct impact on people's daily lives. Access to clean water improves public health, while modern infrastructure facilitates mobility, trade, and economic growth. Being part of these projects allowed me to witness firsthand how development policies translate into tangible improvements for communities. These experiences raise important questions in my mind. What kind of governance model allows such large-scale development? What ideas guide these policies? And most importantly, how can these experiences be relevant to Africa's own development challenges? Reading Xi Jinping, The Governance of China, provided me with structured and coherent framework to approach these questions. Among many concepts presented in this book, the one that impressed me the most was the principle of putting the people at the center of development, especially as reflected in China's poverty alleviation strategies. What struck me was not only the ambition of these policies, but also their systematic implementation. Poverty alleviation was not treated as a temporary or isolated effort. It was approached as a long-term, comprehensive mission involving economic planning, education, infrastructure, and governance. This holistic approach deeply resonated with me, particularly when I compared it to the situation in many African countries, where development initiatives are sometimes fragmented or short-term. Before coming to China, my understanding of the country was largely shaped by external narratives, media reports, and some academic works that often presented a partial or even biased picture. These sources led me to form a rather limited view of China's reality. For instance, I used to believe that there was an unbridgeable development gap between rural and urban areas, with cities representing modernity while the countryside lagged far behind. I also assumed that the Belt and Road Initiative was more of an abstract geopolitical concept, somewhat exclusive with nature and not necessarily grounded in practical, inclusive development. In addition, I had the impression that China's rapid industrialization had come at the expense of environmental protection and that ecological concerns were secondary to economic growth. However, though my studies and more importantly my personal experiences on the ground, I gradually came to appreciate the complexity and uniqueness of China's development model. Traveling to various rural areas across China was particularly eye-opening. I visited villages that had undergone remarkable transformation thanks to targeted poverty alleviation and rural revitalization policies. What impressed me the most was the implementation of the one village, one product strategy, which allows each locality to develop its own competitive advantage based on its own resources. I also observed how economically developed provinces actively partner with less developed regions. For example, the cooperation between Ningxia and Fujian and initiatives such as the pairing between Fuyang and Lishui in Zhejiang demonstrate how resources sharing, investment, and expertise can reduce regional disparities in a very practical way. In the area of ecology, my earlier assumptions were also challenged. I came to understand the significance of the principle articulated by Xi Jinping: lucid waters and lush mountains are invaluable assets. The two-mountain theory is not just a slogan, but a practical framework that addresses the long-standing tension between environmental protection and economic development. It promotes the idea of developing while protecting and protecting while developing, which I could clearly see reflected in various ecological projects and sustainable development practices across the country. Similarly, my understanding of the Belt and Road Initiative evolved significantly. I realized that it is far from being the mere concept, and it is a dynamic and inclusive platform with tangible outcomes. In the African context, for example, it is closely linked with concrete cooperation mechanisms such as the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation (FOCAC) and frameworks like BRICS Plus. These platforms go beyond economic exchange. They address issues of development, security, and even civilizational dialogue, offering countries opportunities to collaborate on infrastructure, education, and sustainable growth. What ultimately changed my perception the most was the realization that China's policies are deeply rooted in long-term planning and a strong emphasis on collective well-being. Rather than focusing solely on short-term gains, there is a clear vision and aim at achieving balanced, inclusive, and sustainable development. This not only challenged my previous assumptions, but also encouraged me to think more critically and openly about alternative development paths, particularly in relation to Africa's future. For me personally, studying Xi Jinping, the governance of China, has become more than an academic endeavor. It is a source of inspiration and guide for action. As a lecturer and researcher at Tianjin University, I see my role as not only teaching language and also facilitating understanding between cultures. I believe that language is a powerful tool for development as it enables communication, knowledge exchange, and cooperation. Through my work, I hope to contribute to strengthening these ties between China and Africa and to promoting a more balanced and inclusive form of globalization. Looking forward to the future, I envision a world where development is more equitable and where countries work together to address common challenges. In Africa, issues such as poverty, conflict, and development require comprehensive and sustainable solutions. For example, in Cameroon, the Anglophone crisis and the threat of terrorism highlight the need for policies that combine peace building, economic development, and social inclusion. I believe that lessons from China's experience, particularly in terms of governance and development, planning, can provide valuable insights in this regard. In my own journey, I am committed to contributing to this vision in whatever ways I can. This includes continuing my research, training students, participating in development projects, and promoting dialogue between different cultures and systems of thought. I also believe that young people, especially in Africa, should be encouraged to learn languages, explore new ideas, and engage with the world beyond their immediate environment. In conclusion, my engagement with Xi Jinping, the governor of China, has been both an intellectual and personal journey. It has helped me better understand China's development path, reflect on the challenges facing my own country, and to think more deeply about the role I can play in building a better future. My story is still unfolding, but one thing remains clear. Knowledge, when combined with action and a commitment to serving others, has the power to transform not only individual lives, but entire societies.